Hey, welcome to this week's sermon preview, looking at our Sermon on the Mount series, the Upside Down Kingdom. And we're here with Pastor Nick talking about what are we doing this week? What part are we at, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. So we are going to be in the part of the Sermon on the Mount talking about the salt and the light. So we find this in Matthew chapter 5, and it's going to be verses 13 through 16. And so this is just it's a fairly well-known passage. Some people know it, some people don't, but it's these images that Jesus gives in which he describes who his disciples are. These word pictures that describes how they should be living their life, right? And what's interesting is, so Lance, what passage did we just get done looking at last week?
So we saw all the Beatitudes. So
Right.
Blessed are this, or blessed are that.
Right. So I think what Jesus is doing here is these images are describing what his disciples will look like if they live out what he just taught in the Beatitudes, right? So if they live in such a way where they are poor in spirit, or they are they hunger and thirst for righteousness, or they are pure of heart, or all these things, if they live in such a way, then they will be the salt of the earth. They will be the light of the world. So it's a really interesting connection that we make between the two there. So this week we're talking about salt and light, and it's a really great passage and within the Sermon on the Mount. So we're salt and light, we're outside, salt of the earth, light of the world. It's super bright out here. Lance wanted to put on sunglasses. I don't know why. But okay, Lance, when we talk about salt, what is the saltiest thing you've ever experienced?
I think when you're a little kid swimming in the ocean and you just take in all that salt water, Gulf of Mexico down in Florida, that's pretty salty right there.
Absolutely. So salt is something that you notice when it's there, and you notice when it's not there.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's not just, it's a flavoring thing. And salt really has multiple different uses to it. And we're going to talk about that this week, of what are the different uses of salt, and what does that mean for us when we apply that word picture to our spiritual lives, to living out what Christ has given for us. So we've got this idea of salt and being something that's useful, right? And then we have this idea of light, right? We said it's outside, we're outside, it's bright, it's really light. And when we apply that to our own spiritual lives of how we are the light of the world, one, we know that Jesus, he first said that he was the light of the world, and then he applies that to us, which means we are more or less his reflection. But what does that mean for us? How do we live as the light of the world? How do we live as the salt of the earth? And so, really, really interesting passage. And what I want you to be reflecting on this week as we're leading up to this sermon is, how have you been the salt of the earth, or how have you been the light of the world this week? What have you done intentionally to be the hands and feet of Jesus to the world? Because really what this passage gives us, and what this passage reminds us of, and hopefully I'm not showing my cards too much here, is we have an opportunity to live on mission for what Jesus has for us, an opportunity to be out in the world, to be where there isn't any light, right? What's the point of being a light of the world where there already is a bunch of light, right? Like, we're called to go out to be the light in other places where it's dark, right? So we have this opportunity to live on mission. So really excited for this passage, really excited for what God is teaching us through this as we continue down this series of Upside Down Kingdom. Because there again, like, these aren't things that we would necessarily expect from the world, or from Jesus, right? We would expect the world to say it needs to be this, but Jesus flips it upside down. So looking forward to it. We'll see you then. Take care.
In his upside down kingdom, the king laid down his crown for the cross. He chose to give his life for the lost and the broken souls. He's coming to take us home.